passing 75K a month in my agency took way longer than it needed to, and way longer than it should have, to be completely honest with you. When I started out, the first thing that I did was I ran this like email marketing VSL offer. It was going to be like a 50 or $100, I think it was like a 47 or $49 low ticket VSL offer that I was planning on running with ads. I didn't even know that SMMA was a thing. I had worked at a real estate office. I had actually started an SMMA with a couple of realtors. I didn't realize that SMMA was even a term or anything like that. Ended up breaking apart with them. I basically just kind of got screwed, to be honest with you. They owed me money in the end. And so I went off on my own. This was at the beginning of 2020, right around when COVID came out. And so I started this like email marketing offer. I think it was for real estate agents. To be honest, I have no idea if it even was or wasn't at this point. It's been a little while, almost 4 years. And I basically just like spent a month building this whole thing. Writing the VSL, rewriting the VSL, making the product, rewriting the VSL, updating the product, rewriting the VSL. And after a while, I was just like, wait, if it costs me X number of dollars for a click and Y people convert, Y meaning a number, a variable, then I'm going to make no money from this. This makes no sense. What am I doing? Low ticket works. Do not get me wrong. But I was just sitting there like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I was like, well, I guess at this point, the most appropriate next step would be to start an agency like I did before. People trusted me. I got really good results for these realtors. Might as well just continue on there. And so I started going into the agency game. I was completely clueless. I was charging people anywhere from like $150 to $300 a month just on like monthly retainers. Then I started looking up on YouTube, like how do you grow a marketing agency? And I found that, there are these companies where you can hire ISAs, inside sales agents, to call your clients' leads for them, and you just pay a percentage, or like $5 a lead or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, that sounds like a good thing to add to my offer. And so I started selling that, and I sold to one client. And I had done the same service I had done in the past, the same everything. And after 3 months, something like that, this guy sends me an email, the client, and he goes, "Thanks for wasting my time and money." And I was like, what did I do? From that point on, I was afraid to sell. I was afraid to send outreach messages. And I don't know, I just got kind of stuck. I got stuck for over a year, to the point of having mad sales anxiety. Like if I had a sales call at 3 p.m. tonight at 9:30, it would kick in for me, or it'd set in that I have a sales call tomorrow at 3 p.m. and I'd just get this real tightness in my chest. And it was horrible. It felt terrible. It was really strong. It was really strong. And so a little bit later down the line, I was struggling to sell this thing, and I was like, well, what if I sold a $2,000 course kind of thing to real estate agents? Because I heard about the whole DIY, DWI, DFY, do it yourself, done with you, done for you. I was like, well, what if I sell, excuse me, I was like, well, what if I sell a DIY? And so that's what I started doing. I started selling a $2,000 DIY. And this was, we're fast forward to January, February the next year. At this point, I'm doing $1,500 a month in revenue on average, right, throughout the whole first year, or almost first year of my agency. So it was a really slow start, and I switched up to selling this do-it-yourself. And I sold the do-it-yourself for a while, and things were working. I got up to maybe $2,000 a month, 2,500 a month, and fast forward a little bit longer and a little bit longer, I was like, oh, well, let's do it done with you. So they can pay me for the information and the video content, and then I can build the ad system out for them, hand it off, give them tutorials to maintain the ads. So I learned how to sell that only after a few months of doing the do-it-yourself. And there I think I was charging $2,500 for that. I mean, basically, like, it was working. I was averaging, I think, like 1.5-ish sales a month, something like that. So I was in the like $3,000 to $4,000 a month area. And it took me about a year and a half to get there. You know, now we're like August of 2021. And then I thought, okay, well, let's go into done for you. And I heard this piece of advice from someone online that said, someone online that everybody knows that said, crank your prices as high as you can. So I'm like, all right, crank my prices to 12 grand. And I was like, yeah, well, you know, I've got 17K in the bank. You know, my monthly expenses are like 2 grand. You know, I've got a lot of runway, so I was feeling nice. At this point, I had invested into one course, April of 2020. Horrible experience. Really made me afraid to invest in anything else. But then in October of 2021, I bought into this other like coaching program for mindset, because I was like, yo, my mindset's brutal. Self-awareness is very important. And so then I cranked my prices, and I made no sales for almost 5 months, or just about 5 months. And then in the 5th month, in January of 2022, I made one sale for $500. After that, I had adjusted my pricing and, you know, did 14,000 the next month in February. Then by June 22, I was at 25K a month. By December, I was at, you know, 75, right? But at that point, what I had started doing was investing in coaching. And that's not the lesson or the advice I'd give to my younger self. The advice I would give to my younger self is, I guess there are a few things. The first one is, you only need to do one thing, and you only need to make one thing work. You only need one product or service. You only need one outreach method or like lead generation method. You only need one appointment booking method and one appointment closing method. That's it. That's all you need to scale to $100,000 a month, not even just 10. So had I not jumped around so much with this, and one thing I didn't mention was that when I was jumping around, I was thinking that like, oh, people are making money with do it yourself. I should do it yourself. Maybe that's the answer. And then I jump over to do it yourself. And then like, you know, I had only really started making more money because I started sending some more messages and like building my confidence. And then the same thing happened with Done With You. I was like, oh, maybe Done With You is the answer. I can, you know, whatever. And so I jumped to Done With You, and, you know, maybe that's what's going to be the thing that does it for me. It's not. It's really not. There are tweaks that can be made to your offer. There are improvements that can be made. But the first piece of advice I'd give myself is that do it yourself as a model to sell works. Done With You works, and Done For You works. There's no, I could have saved myself a year and a bit, a year and a half, if I just stuck to Done For You. A year and a half. You know how treacherous it is sitting there trying your heart. I mean, a lot of you guys probably know how treacherous it is, even for 6 months, trying your heart out and hardly making any progress. For a year and a half, though, I was jumping between thing and thing and thing, And what I learned from that was that every time I switched, there was a delay period where I had to learn how to sell the new thing. And, today I look at that with, from I guess like a positive perspective. And that positive perspective being that, I learned how to sell multiple different things and I got experience selling different models. Like, great, it's not like a net loss, because breadth of experience helps. But I burned a year and a half doing it. I had something that was working. I did 7K in a month in like July of 2020, almost straight out the gate. I almost did a 10K revenue month. And the problem was that I switched and then I switched and then I switched instead of thinking about why did this client say that and how can I improve on that? What could have possibly gone wrong in trying to solve the problem? Instead of trying to solve the problem, I ran from the problem. So the second piece of advice that I would give to my younger self, 4.5 years later, I say 4.5 because it was August of 2019 that I started marketing for real estate agents and stepping into this like social media marketing space for other people. Like I started there as a contractor, kind of like a freelancer. Another massive piece of advice would just be that it's like, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here, but don't switch up so hard and just focus on, okay, how can I make this one thing better? Make constant iterations, small incremental improvements over time. Business is a game of getting 1% better every day. And you get 1% better and literally 1% better every day, because you get 1% better every day. There are 365 days in a year. One perspective that I heard from the startup world on YouTube was that it's easy to double a business every year. It's very hard to quadruple a business every year. So most founders will aim to triple a business every year. And that's what I do personally, because the compounding of that's crazy. Compounding interest of 10% a year is wild over a 25-year period. Compounding interest, or the compounding effect of tripling your business every year, is insane over a 5-year period. It's just it's active income instead of passive income. That's probably another piece of advice that I'd give to my younger self is chase active income, not passive income. Passive income isn't really real. You need to, from my experience, you make the most money, you get the highest ROI from the things you do the most work in and have the most involvement in. Early on, it has to be you, in my opinion, or being you or having you doing it in large part is what will get you these high ROIs, because you don't have to pay people. And I think another massive piece of advice I would give myself on that, going down that vein, is that nobody's going to build your business for you. I hired my friend as an appointment setter. I'll be fully honest. I hired my friend as an appointment setter because I was afraid to call my leads. That's how bad the sales anxiety was. I had done door-to-door in the past and I'd been cussed out and all this stuff, but that one client interaction where the guy said, "Thanks for wasting my time and money," that got me in the soul. It was rough, and I was, like I said, I was real scared to take calls. So I hired a friend and started teaching him to set appointments. And in the end, I dropped him because I realized that, now this was more in this was in 2020 that I did this. So this isn't all in perfect sequential order. But, I thought that I'd be able to outsource this early and just not have to deal with it. And I was dead wrong, because I didn't know. I mean, I did roughly know how to set appointments, but compared to today, I had no idea how to set appointments. I had no idea what I was doing. And he was able to set some appointments and it was working. But I should have been the one on the phones getting better at calling these leads. And that's what I ended up doing. I dropped him and started booking my appointments and writing my own script and updating my own script. And then I started developing the skills of setting appointments. I had a realization that, and this is the advice that I would have given to my younger self, it's that business is entirely skill-based. So you need to, max out your skills as much as possible, so to say. And the only way to max out your skills is by doing the thing. Again, nobody's going to build your business for you, and you shouldn't outsource until you have crazy stats on all of your metrics, let's say for appointment setting, because then you can lead by example. And whenever you delegate something, this is another piece of advice I would give to myself, my younger self, after being in SMMA for these years, is that whenever you delegate something, whenever you outsource something, whenever you hire for something, the quality of the work goes down. So yeah, you're not going to outsource something and have them do a better job unless you're terrible at what you do, or unless you pay an absolute boatload of money, which, let's be real, none of us have when we're starting out. You don't have the money to hire somebody who's really, truly good at what they do. And, when you get an ISA service to call leads for your clients, they're able to do it relatively cheap and so on and so forth, and they're decent at what they do. But reality still is, if you learned how to do it and you did it in-house, you'd be able to make all the profit that they're making, right? So there's so many disadvantages to outsourcing too early, right? But yeah, these are some pretty honest, pretty vulnerable pieces of advice and stories for my younger self after being in the social media marketing agency game for, again, about 4.5 years now. So take them, run with them. Another last one, I'd watch YouTube videos and not trust the guys and not actually listen to them. So that's another honest piece of advice I would give to myself. Go watch whatever else is on screen. I'll see you there.